Welcome back to Interjections. Inter 2-1 winners over Udinese yesterday, and now a Milan derby awaits. We've got the whole crew today. I'm your host, Andrew. Irfan, Miko, and Jay all here. Irfan, have you had any unintended group chats lately?
Yeah. Nothing to see here. Just snuck my way onto some Milan group chats and Juventus group chats. Accidentally added to them and just doing my part in collecting intel and releasing it. So nothing to see here. Just the usual.
When I want to know what Milan fans really think of us, I just have a conversation with Jay.
That's true. That's true.
Jay, what's up?
Not terribly much. Interesting weekend of results, and it looks like things are gradually coming to their conclusion. And I think there's a sense of this title kind of ever so slightly inching towards us with every passing week. So let's get into it.
Miko, how are you doing?
Thanks. I'm doing good. Happy to cover the matches or the match yesterday and the typical kind of Inter experience.
Yep. That was an Inter game, let me tell you. And I want to start by noting it's nice that we're getting some pieces back here. It was nice to see DeMarco back on the pitch. He was obviously great yesterday. It's not like Zalewski was great, but it's just nice to see the team getting healthy. And even though we were missing Lautaro, missing Taremi, like that stuff doesn't matter. Like we're getting the depth back we needed. And I say that because as for the first 45 minutes of yesterday, it was easy to convince yourself, like Jay was just mentioning, that this is a Scudetto winning side. It was easy to convince yourself that, hey, like we've got this thing because we're fit. We we were playing so well in the first half yesterday, guys. Like it looked really good, and it kind of felt like Inter of old before we had a little slump there, followed by that massive injury crisis. But we had four or five goal scoring chances early in the match, and you're like, all right, we're back. Arnautovic looked like a revolution at forward. Like, what was this? He was involved in the link up play. We had like total football style goals. It was wild. It was as good as we've looked at points of this season. And when you get two early goals, you're like, all right, this thing's taken care of. The job is done. Fratesi grabs you another. The guys on the Paramount Plus halftime show here in the States, they were talking about how Udinese are on vacation. Udinese can't be relegated. They don't care what happens in this match. Like, and unfortunately, that complacency was exactly the way Inter was viewing things, because you saw that in Inzaghi taking off Arnautovic a little early to save him for the Milan derby. You saw that in the way the guys started playing in the second half, but it was just it was the complete opposite in the second half. You go from playing this beautiful first half of attacking football where you're not letting Udinese do anything to hanging on for dear life. And we were very fortunate to walk away with 3 points yesterday. I'd say on the balance of play, we deserve to win. If you look at XG, we deserve to win. But we didn't do ourselves any favors, that's for sure. The it already started going downhill at halftime. Udinese made a slight tactical tweak with a substitution, and from there we just kind of lost some of our steam. It, I do want to put a lot of blame on Correa, which I realize is a easy target, but I was really disappointed by his effort on the goal we conceded. It was there was a 50-50 ball, or a ball that should have been a 50-50 ball, that he didn't even try heading, and as a result he just let Udinese knock it down. And then Soleil, who was the one who won the 50-50 ball, takes it and starts advancing up the pitch, and Correa just like jogs back, doesn't even try challenging for the ball. And then 10 seconds later, Soleil is just brilliant shot into our net, and now our lead is halved. And then from there, it's a summer man of the match type performance. Like, we could have lost this game. We could have dropped points in this game. so many times, if not for just brilliant saves by Summer. And for that reason, he has to be the man of the match, even though DeMarco had a couple assists. You just There were so many good goal scoring chances for Udinese late in this match, and it was really one way traffic as we tried to get to the finish line. So yeah, a tale of two halves. Can't say you're thrilled with the way the match ended. Like Miko said, this was very typical. This was just Pazza Inter in every regard. Unfortunately, we did not get any help in the afternoon when Napoli go and make short work of Milan by getting a couple early goals. So the Scudetto lead will stay where it was heading into the match day. And now a Milan derby awaits. So, Irfan, I'll go to you first. What do you think changed from the first to the second half? Why did we go from looking like the champions of Italy to the team we were for, I don't know, stretches of poor performances against Juve and Milan this season?
I was actually kind of surprised that we came out as well as we did in the first half. Usually after an international break, sometimes we kind of struggle. And you're right, it was a very Jekyll Hyde performance. The first half was so good. The team not only delivered with the two goals, but they looked the part. Everything was flowing, everything was clicking, things looked easy on the pitch. And then the second half, it was just kind of the typical, Inter sort of malaise. It's really bizarre. Like if there's one thing that'll cost us a potential Scudetto this season, and you know, give us a shorter sort of career in the Champions League than we probably deserve, it's this sort of stuff that we do to close out games. Like our inability to just maintain a lead and like still dominate the game, and not let the team get back into it. It's really concerning, and I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's like tactics and Inzaghi just gets a little complacent, sits a little bit deeper, and kind of doesn't play the same way that we were playing to get the lead initially. But also, that's kind of expected, right? Like if you're up 2 goals, you really shouldn't be playing as if the match is still 0-0. Like you should be able to find a different sort of comfortable level of performance that doesn't really prioritize going forward and trying to score goals, but allows you to maintain possession and prevent the other team from building up attacks. And that's the biggest thing that we're just unable to do. And I don't know what the answer is, other than we just are way too casual, and our midfield is just not designed for like large periods of sustained possession without triggering attacks. And it's almost like the team doesn't know how to exactly function in that sort of capacity to keep things in like the middle third and the back third. And the midfield, I think, just is it. Sometimes it just does such a good job of linking up with the advancing center back and the wing backs, that when they're not doing that, it's almost like they don't really know how to play, where to cycle the ball, all that sort of stuff. That's my only thing I can think of. The other thing I will say is, like, you're exactly right. Korea was a real disappointment. Arnautovic was playing so well, and you can tell that our hold up play and our ability to just sort of, you know, move the ball around took a step back when Correa was involved, because that's just really not part of his game either, where he can kind of play a more cautious sort of sustained possession sort of role versus trying to get the ball in some sort of attacking position and trying to do something with it, where he often ends up losing the ball. So I don't know. It is weird. We've seen it enough where we know it happens, and it's like a feature of this team. But I still can't really explain why it happens.
Yeah, and to your point about the midfield, like I thought most of the midfielders had a good game yesterday. It was nice to see Fratesi do what Fratesi does, which is find ways to get involved in the attack. He had the post, he had the goal. But maybe it's just when he's on the pitch and we have a lead, we don't have any way of kind of settling the game down. I also want to give a shout out to Aslani for his standard rugby tackle leading to a yellow card. It was a thing of beauty or fun.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess. Some things you can always count on.
Like clockwork.
Yep.
Jay, what do you think is the reason why we continue to why do you think yesterday we had such a massive difference in quality between the first and second half, and how much of it do you think had to do with like Inzaghi like holding the team back or telling them to sit deeper?
I blame Aslani and Aslani alone. No, I'm joking, but there's an obvious fall off in the second halves of games when we go into our shell and tend to play this dedicated counter-attacking football. I think Inzaghi tells the team to sit deep, conserve energy, try and keep things tight at the back, and look for opportunities on the counter. And I just don't think we're that great of a counter-attacking team in some ways. I mean, we look good in motion. Like both our goals came through very, very similar fluid attacking transitions. We've seen countless goals like this. It's all about finding some quick interchanges, some quick 1-2s, taking advantage of some gaps and moving the ball into space. It's not necessarily what you'd consider counter-attacking football, I think. And so when we decide to play counter-attacking football, I just don't think we have the personnel for it. When that involves going long, I really think we lack the personnel for that as well. Playing long balls to Correa is effectively useless. As you mentioned, Andrew, the Udinese goal came from one of these moments, and it's funny, it's uncanny how we were describing exactly this a few weeks ago, where a long ball goes to Correa and he doesn't even contest the ball. He kind of very, very half-heartedly jumps in the general vicinity of the ball and kind of wraps his arms around himself to like shield himself, because he's far far more concerned about getting hurt himself than he is about winning the ball. It's not really an effective way of trying to win the ball further up the pitch. You need like a Arnautovic or even like a Lukaku to win these long balls, bring the ball down and lay it off for a teammate. You need like a Dzeko type player to be able to do this, and Lord knows we really lack that in the squad. So when you invite this pressure upon yourself by effectively surrendering the ball every time you get it, by just going long and playing this style of football where you have no avenue, no outlet, then I think ultimately you just kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because when you inevitably tend to give up these chances in the course of a game, then why test the fates? Why put yourself in that position to begin with, right? But that's just the way it is. I guess our defensive strategy is lacking in some regards. We tend to suffer a bit too much. Like some of the chances we coughed up yesterday were just horrendous. Like that, I think it was the 72nd minute or so where Luca had that free header. Somehow, even though it was just him and Bissek in the box, he managed to get like 5 meters of space on Bissek. And if it wasn't for a diving Sommer save, then Luca would have scored a nice header. And that chance right at the end from the goal scorer Soleil, who had a fantastic game, by the way. I was convinced that was going in, but you can't cough up these chances at these stages in the game, right? The fact that these chances are being conceded is an indication that, firstly, our defensive tightness is not as dependable as we might want it to be. But secondly, as I mentioned, I think that stems from the weight of just constant pressure, which in itself is a result of poor kind of second half management and an approach which I think is a little bit I don't want to say suicidal, but just you're really tempting fate by playing in such a way, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating watching the counter-attacking attempts yesterday because Udinese were clearly just a step faster than us most of the game. Even in the first half, we had a few counter-attacking possibilities, and it's just clear, like with Arnautovic and Thuram, and Thuram's quick, but Thuram's by no means like in the 99th percentile of speed when it comes to footballers. Like he's fast among our players, but he's not fast among all players in the league. And it's just frustrating, like how many times attacks are held back because we just don't have that extra oomph you need to transition quickly into attack. And frankly, the only player on our team who is any good at that is Mkhitaryan. And Mkhitaryan's decision making leaves a lot to be desired. Like there were about 4 chances in the last 10 minutes of the game yesterday where Mkhitaryan was leading counterattacks down the pitch, and he pretty much got it wrong every time. Because while he's excellent at getting the ball to the opponent's box, he's using his speed to get into open space. He just doesn't know what to do with it. Once he gets there, it was misplaced passes, a poor decision to cross, and just a really bad shot. So I completely agree that yeah, this team just can't sit back and play good football. It leads to us getting ourselves in trouble every time. But I also kind of understand, like, hey, this match looked like it was over. Like I understand, like I understand taking Arnautovic off. I understand doing a couple things to try and get ready for the derby on Wednesday. But yeah, it was just awful. Miko, are you in agreement with me on Summer being man of the match, given his Superman-esque saves to secure the win?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. DiMarco, like you said, he played a great match. Great kind of the first match after his injury. Nice assists, and he was doing DiMarco stuff like we used to see. But yeah, Sommer kind of saved us this time. I feel with Sommer, I was kind of a bit irritated with him time to time with his passes, his long passes. But he was in the end he was still there. He was he was the man of the match. He saved us. There's no question about that. That that Luka header, which Jay mentioned, that was a brilliant save. It looked like it's definitely going in, but he managed to grab it. That was a great save by I don't know, maybe even the best in the season by him. So he has that kind of the jump in him, even he isn't that tall guy. I wanna quickly comment on the match. The first half, that was indeed, it was kind of almost like a playing time. It was looked so relaxed and easy, and we scored the 2 goals. Could have scored more. Maybe in the end, I remember we conceded one good header or heading chance for Luka, but he managed to head it right to Sommer. I think that was even better chance than the second half when Luka pulled off that great header. It was, I think it was more like further from the goal than the first half one, but luckily it went straight to Sommer. Now afterwards, kind of looking, maybe that was kind of a sign what's to come in the second half. Since then, indeed, the second half was that was like that was your typical kind of kind of green performance by Inter, that you are just suffering for 45 minutes, almost 45 minutes, and hoping nothing happens, and then not something happens, and you hope nothing happens after that, and hopefully nothing happened. Even though I think we played like the final minutes, we could control the ball pretty well, but the Soler chance, was it from the corner? I think it was from the corner. That was in the end, but I don't think there was other that many kind of clear chances. But yeah, I don't know about the subs. I read that Arnautovic was taken off because he asked that. He said that he can't like keep up anymore. He said that he was like too tired for the tempo because he hasn't played enough or something like that. So that was a bit unfortunate because I think he played a pretty well, played a good match, but when Korea came in, it kind of really killed our game, and then also Çalhanoğlu came in, Aslani. Çalhanoğlu came out, Aslani came in. That didn't help either. and I remember seeing that Fratesi was taken off as well because some knock or something, but maybe it was for the better, so there wouldn't be this Aslani Fratesi dynamic duo at the same time there. So Barella was brought in as well, but I think the subs were like at least three of them, maybe four of them were like reactions or kind of the planned. Dimarco, Çalhanoğlu were probably planned in a sense that they weren't supposed to play the full 90 minutes either, since Çalhanoğlu needs to play against Milan because Aslan is suspended because he has taken his like 20th yellow card. So thanks for that. So that's why Aslan needed to play in this match, and Dimarco just came in, just returned, so he needed to be taken off, and yeah, I think and Arnautovic same thing, like had to be taken off. So I would let Inzaghi off the hook this time, but yeah, I don't know. Like Jay talked about, it feels that this team it just can't kind of defend a lead in kind of control in a controlled manner, especially when you need to change players a bit, and it becomes this kind of a I don't know, this kind of a suffering in a sense, and I have a feeling that it will be like this for the rest of the season, at least in Serie A. So it's eight more matches like this. Well, hopefully like this that we end up winning all of them. But yeah, looking forward to watch this type of second halves. I don't think it's going to change much. Maybe against some worse opponents, but I don't know how many of them we have left. Maybe Verona at home, but that's about it.
Miko, do you know Inzaghi obviously got the red card yesterday? Is he suspended for the Milan match? How does that work with the Coppa versus the league matches?
I don't I don't think it's applied to Coppa. I think it will be Parma.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I think. That was a funny thing with the red card because the commentator was saying how Tudor got a yellow card for being out of his technical area in his first match yesterday for Juve, and then Juve fans have been furious about that because we all know how Inzaghi acts. He's like on the pitch almost every match, and well, this time he got the red card for that, but usually he gets nothing. But it was kind of a funny detail.
Remind me, was that two yellows he received or was it a straight red?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay,
Was it
not
just me,
important.
or did Mkhitaryan not get a yellow for that overhead kick where he kicked some guy in the
Yeah,
face? That seemed a bit
yeah,
strange. That seemed
yeah,
extremely Marotta League to me.
yeah. I love it. I love it. I love the Marotta League.
I just want to say, speaking of Mkhitaryan, yesterday was very much the Mkhitaryan DeMarco show. Everything was
Yeah,
just flowing through them in the first half, in particular, and
absolutely.
yeah, it's always nice to see that kind of just really purposeful forward driving attack down the left flank. And when Mkhitaryan finally retires in about 6 years, I'm going to miss him.
Agree.
I, I do want to say though, like I want to give credit to Arnautovic though because he was also involved in that build-up play and like he was on the first goal especially like he had the ball around the center of the pitch and is like the one who really launched that counterattack. So agreed it was DeMarco and Mkhitaryan, but Arnautovic was involved in the game in a way he normally isn't, and he didn't even do his dopey little pouting after he scored the goal. He actually looked happy for once.
But yeah, this is the Arnautovic we need and we have needed all the time, kind of contributing to our game and then contributing some goals as well. I don't know how many goals he has now for the season, but this is what we need for the rest of the season for sure.
I would
May,
not count on it.
yeah, yeah,
Just doing a quick check for you here, Miko. That was his. He has 3 league goals.
right. Is it 3 Champions League goals or some Coppa Italia goal maybe? So five, 6 goals maybe.
Stud. Okay, let's get into talking about the Coppa Italia derby that nobody wants. Everyone desperately wanted to avoid it, and yet here we are. We're going to have 5 matches against Milan this season. At least we avoided it being 7 in the Champions League. So there are really 2 ways to think about this match. I'll say view A is the optimistic one. It's this Milan team blows. They're fighting for a Champions League spots, but they're buried down the table. They cannot get consistent results, and that we have slowly, over the course of the season, looked better against them. You can say the first match was a complete. The first match against them was a complete joke, but if you go to the most recent league match, we pretty much dominated them for the last 45 to 60 minutes of the game. We were the ones in control. We were the ones with the initiative. So we've cracked Sao. We know what we need to do, and we're well positioned to beat them. That's the optimistic view. The pessimistic view is we have yet to beat these guys this season. They have too much athleticism and speed for us to keep up with, and they are a bad matchup for us that we cannot beat, and they have the psychological edge over us.
Yes.
I already knew where Jay was going to be in these 2 camps. The added bonus here is that you have this Coppa Italia competition where it's just not clear how much everyone cares about it. I think we have to assume Milan is all in on this because this is all they really have left to play for besides the outside remote shot of a Champions League spot. Inzaghi clearly wants this. And I'm sure, once again, we talked about this last week, when the players step on the pitch against Milan, they're going to want it. But you have to figure there'll be some degree of rotation. Lautaro obviously isn't going to be available, it sounds like. So there's a big psychological unknown here. So, Irfan, I will let you go first. Which view are you taking? View A or view B?
Taking view A, obviously. And I also kind of feel like we should. I said this a few weeks ago, but we should really roll out like Primavera kids on this. And Inzaghi cares, and I'm sure there's certain fans that care, and it is a trophy after all. But man, I can't get myself to care. And playing Milan now, I mean, that side, they're languishing in 9th place in the league. They can't do anything. They can't even help us out by taking points against like Napoli. And they're they're so poor right now in like pretty much all phases of the game. And the fact that we have to play them twice for this Copa is so infuriating to me because it's still a rivalry. Like it's a derby, and there are city mates, and they've had their way with us so far this year in a couple of matches, and so it's hard psychologically to go into this match not caring and to essentially concede. But man, we have so many bigger fish to fry, and they don't. Like they're going to be geared up for this. They're going to be excited about this, and they're going to put their best foot forward against us. And meanwhile, we're kind of forced to care because you don't want to get shown up by these guys. But man, like if I was Inzaghi, like I would do everything in my power to literally just put out the B squad if I could. But I know he's not going to do that. So I still think we're talking about, in the 2 scenarios you were mentioning, we're talking about scenario A. I don't think they're much. I don't think they're better than us, nor do I think that there's some, athletic group of players that are somehow so skilled and so fast that we can't beat them. I don't think any of that's true. But it's such an unfortunate situation for us to be in, given all that we have going on. And they have absolutely nothing going on. So that's why it's like a bit of a more interesting tie than it probably should be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Milan derbies, and I'm definitely not looking forward to this. And it's not because I think they're a better team or they have some psychological advantage. It's such a nuisance right now. Like that's the way I would describe this whole fixture setup.
Sounds like someone's afraid.
Yeah. I was worried that was going to be your takeaway, but man, I just can't care about this.
All I was hearing was just a bunch of excuses.
So, what's your
Uh,
expectations, Jay?
I really do agree with the notion that they are just a bad matchup for us, and I do think that despite where they are in the table, they're going to draw a lot of confidence from the fact that they've had a good record against us this season, and they've been able to claim results against us from losing positions and from and they always have this ability to make things difficult. I'll just grab a goal out of nowhere through some Liao bullshit, and then next thing you know, it's fucking squeaky bum time for the next 30 minutes, and it's just heart attack time for the last 20 minutes of the game. I really do subscribe to the notion that it's a harder game than it appears on paper, and it always is with derbies. But yeah, not to repeat myself, but I actually do think that they are just inherently not a great matchup for us. Lots of speedy, dynamic, athletic players who like to run at our defenders, and that's not something that our shape is good at adapting to. We tend to get dragged out of position, and that leaves gaps for players with pace to exploit. And against what is likely to be a somewhat rotated team, I think that presents issues, but we'll see how it goes.
Miko, which view are you in alignment of? Are you on view A or view B of this?
Of course, I gotta be on the view A. Although I would kind of love to see Inzaghi go with the full bench. He's not gonna go with the full Primavera, obviously, but I would somehow love to see him like really go with the like the Martinez on the goal and all the bench guys possible. But I don't know how he's gonna play with his rotation since we have a lot of games. We have a lot of games, and the I don't know. Maybe the most important one is the Bayern Munich a week from now, or a bit of a week from now. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to kind of a bit what Irfan said that it's hard to kind of have interest in this match, especially as this is the first match. There's like two legs, so we can even waste this first leg if we want to. So I wouldn't maybe go for the kind of the kind of the max result out of this match. Maybe get a draw and be fine with it, and then try to win the second leg. But I just wouldn't want to put kind of too much effort into this. But no, knowing Inzaghi, he's absolutely going to put the full effort in every match. And well, I can't blame them. I can't blame them. I can't blame the players. They are like a competitive persons and like a personalities, characters. So of course they are going to want to win it. But I'm just at this point of the season, all these kind of knocks and everything they stack up and kind of hurt you in the for the these last 2 months. So I wouldn't if there's like a match where you can do some decision. This should be that match. This first leg. So yeah, I don't know. I agree that we are a better and we should win them, but also what Jay said, they can punish us if they like play with their mind and like be focused on the match. Milan can punish us like we have seen a few times this season already.
To your point about playing for a draw, I just don't think that's something this team's capable of. I mean, how many times this year have we successfully like saw out a point? I'm just thinking about that Leverkusen game. I'm thinking about the Napoli game. It just doesn't seem like we have that in us. We can't. We everything has to be a maximum effort, fight to the death. We don't have the ability to just like manage outcomes.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. That's a good point that our way of like playing is to kind of force the game to opponent's half, and we try to we either punish them right from like takeaways in the midfield and then counter tear, or then we just control the game and end up scoring goals. But this kind of endless suffering and defending, well, it depends on the opponent a bit. But I think we have managed that as well, but we have failed in that as well. So there's kind of both ways in that. But yeah, it's a point that we maybe don't have this kind of mode where we can constantly kind of absorb the pressure properly.
The biggest thing I'm looking to see against Milan this time around is, do we keep a clean sheet? We have not kept a clean sheet against these guys this season. We've conceded a lot of early goals against them too. It seems like they've all come from Pulisic, where we let him dribble through the defense, create goal scoring chances, and take advantage of our slower defense. So I really want to see how we look. I think if we can get to halftime 0-0, or we can get into the second half tied, we're going to be in a good position to win this game. Because a lot of our problems with Milan this season have come from us just giving them confidence early. This Milan side has always been one that struggles to break down teams. If you let Milan counterattack you, if you let them use their pace, they're going to have a lot of success. But if you tell them, come at us, they tend to be out of ideas. They don't have like that Giroud anymore where they can go out and find a goal from a stationary position. So I just want to see us start the match well. And if we can, like I said, get to halftime with a clean sheet, I'm going to feel a lot better about our chances of seeing out a proper result here. If this is another instance of us getting into a goal fest against them, if it's another instance of us conceding early, I just don't see how we come back, because the minute we're forced to play from behind and we're forced to push forward more, you open up those gaps in defense that Milan can take advantage of with their speed, and I don't like our chances in that kind of game whatsoever. All right, any final thoughts on this match before we do some predictions?
I'm really upset that Asani's not playing, because I really thought that he could make a name for himself in the Copa, maybe get a key assist or even one of those typical screaming goals that he likes to score from outside of the box. So I'm a little upset about that, but I'm sure you guys are too. That's why you haven't mentioned it. You don't even want to talk about it or think about it, but I understand.
Does he like to score goals from outside the box? I can't remember one.
He likes to take shots. That, and you can't. You miss all the goals that you don't take shots for. So remember that.
Thanks, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I think about this, we're due for an Aslani straight red with all these ticky-tacky yellows picking up. That's my takeaway.
Oh gosh, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
That's for the second leg.
Yeah, exactly. Straight red, second leg. As long as he takes out like Theo or something, then I'm okay.
I'm up for that.
All right, Irfan, what's your prediction for? Yeah, just do the first leg. What's your prediction for the first leg?
Oh man, gosh, I don't even know where to start with this game. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 result in the first leg. Our goal will come from Hakan, and it'll be a cagey affair that ends in 1-1.
Ding, ding, ding. We got it in.
So the guy who doesn't believe that Milan are a bad matchup for us, nor that Milan have a strong psychological advantage, somehow believes that we're going to be held to a KG 1-1.
Yeah, because I'm expecting a heavy rotation from Inzaghi. I don't think we're going to play with our strongest lineup, and Milan have literally nothing else to play for. Nothing. And we have more important things to do. It's kind of that simple, honestly.
They can still make top four.
Yeah, but it's such a stretch, man. They're ninth place. Ninth.
It's 9 points. It's 9 points.
Guys, they can still make top four.
Sure.
There's like 4 teams between them and Bologna.
Jay is Conte Sal and Irfan is Milan's locker room. We can still do this. We can still do it.
Did you hear that apparently Conceição is going to be replaced in the summer?
Well, I'm not surprised. He's been I think he's been like a more disaster than the who was the
Fonseca.
first guy? Fonseca, yeah.
But he won a trophy, Miko.
Yeah, but no one cares about that trophy. We all know that.
He's probably still smoking that cigar, and he probably looks at that video of him smoking the cigar and dancing, and like cries to himself every night.
Do you guys remember in like 2010 when we won the treble, and Milan fans were like, the real treble is the Scudetto, Supercoppa, and Champions League or something like that? A
I
throwback
totally
for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Or the Tim Cup. If you don't win the Tim Cup, it doesn't count.
Anyway, what's your prediction, Jay?
Hard to say. I really think we're going to struggle without Lautaro and without Dumfries most of all.
That's a good point. Dumfries Theo is missing now.
Teo's
Yeah.
missing, did you say?
I mean that Dumfries Theo
That Jewel is missing.
Yeah, Jewel is missing.
You know, we spoke about this in previous episodes, but it's not a stretch to say Dumfries has been one of our best performers this entire season, if not the best. And I think he's a massive loss for the Bayern game. Assuming he misses this one, then I think he's going to leave a gaping hole. As much as I love gaping holes, it's going to be difficult to fill his absence with, a Zalewski who's just returned from injury, 36-year-old Darmian. You know what I mean? There's just not many inspiring replacements for that right flank, and I think we're really losing a massive weapon without Dumfries. So that's probably the biggest consideration for me. Everything will go down the left, which is not the end of the world considering how good DiMarco and Carlos Augusta have been recently, Bastoni as well. So, like I said, not the end of the world, but still a big loss. So, I don't mind Irfan's prediction 1-1. I'm inclined to take a 0-0 actually. Occasionally, these Coppa games just come at a time where the teams are either struggling or in the middle of some fixture congestion or after the international break, and every now and again you have these just bore draws where both teams almost play with like an unspoken agreement to conserve their energy and come back to this matter in a few weeks' time with a bit more commitment. And I feel like that's going to be this game. So thinking there's going to be a 0-0, and I feel like it's going to be a very uneventful match. And I feel like the return leg towards the end of April is going to, decide the outcome of the tie. But I'd happily take a 0-0 here. I'd happily take a low energy, low risk affair just to help us manage this period of time ahead of the Champions League quarterfinals. And I'll happily take it.
Miko.
Yeah, I was actually thinking both those predictions also. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 1-1 as well. Milan will get some shitty early goal, and then we end up getting the equalizer at some point. But this
just
is like
noticing how both the biggest Milan critics were both predicting Milan draws here. No wins, wins predicted.
No, it's the energy saving mode. It's the low energy effort match, like you said. So we are happy with the draw, and we kind of seal the deal in the second leg. So we take the 1-1 now.
I'll be the only one here courageous enough to predict a victory for Milan. That's my J impersonation for you guys. In all seriousness, though, I'm actually going with a 2-1 Milan win. I am mentally damaged from these 3 previous matches against Milan. I'm closer to view B, that we just don't have the horses to keep up with these guys from athleticism standpoint. And I just don't know how much we're actually going to care about this match, coupled with we have a couple of key injuries in Dumfries and Lautaro. I just don't think the timing's right here. So give me a 2-1 for Milan with our lone goal coming from Thuram.
I actually like that, because then in the second leg there's like a real kind of, I would assume there would be like a real hunger by our guys to go for it. So yeah, give me that.
Miko's begging for a loss.
Yeah.
All right. Jay, I cannot remember what your I know you did a hot betting tip for the Fiorentina match. Did you successfully predict Fiorentina's win?
No, I predicted a 2-2, so it was the opposite result, quite a low scoring affair.
Do you have a prediction for this week?
It feels like there's a Merseyside derby every single week these days. That fixture seems to happen an unreasonable amount, but there's yet another Merseyside derby happening soon.
Is it like a Premier League this time, or was it the last time? What is it? Some FA Cup? Okay,
It is Premier League
now.
this time. Liverpool will play
okay.
Everton on the 3rd of April Australian time, which means Wednesday the 2nd of April European time. Once again, I'm predicting a draw here. More drop points for Liverpool in this fixture. I don't know what it is, but they just haven't looked great in this fixture, despite the fact that Everton are something like 15th or something. Yeah, exactly 15th. And obviously Liverpool are 12 points clear at the top. They just seem to not be able to show the class gulf in these recent Merseyside derbies. So I'm taking a 1-1 draw. A penalty goal from Salah, and a goal from does Ashley Young still play at Everton? We'll say an Ashley Young screamer. Do you guys remember Ashley Young? Wasn't he pretty good for a year? Like surprisingly good for us for a year?
It was more like 6 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was a big part of the Scudetto we won, so.
Was he?
Actually, he was better in his first season rather than the Scudetto season, but still.
Was he here for more than one season?
Yeah, he was here for 2 years. He was here for the first... No, he came in January. He was here for 18 months, come to think of it.
Okay, yeah. I was confusing him with Victor Moses, who was here for 6 months during Conte's first season.
Yeah, miraculously, he wasn't bad either, but Conte really knows how to turn these mediocre players and make them legitimately useful fullbacks or wingbacks. But I digress. I'll give a goal to Ashley Young, and I'll give a goal to Salah, and we'll call it yet another draw in the Merseyside derby, 1-1.
All right. Well, we'll be back midweek with IJ Subito to recap whatever happens against Milan. You can all look forward to that. Thanks everyone for listening. If you have not already, we would appreciate you smashing that like button, subscribing, just telling your dad about it. It's just literally anyone who will listen. Our typical demographic is men over the age of 50, so maybe target those people in your life and shoot them our podcast. So, we'll call it a wraps there. Miko, take us away.
Forza Inter, Forza Milan. Sorry, that was from yesterday, and those losers couldn't do anything. But yeah, see you later.
Hey, they had more XG, Miko.
Imagine actually supporting Milan over Napoli. Like you guys don't get it. You don't support like the Milan can win and take points away from our title challenger. None of that matters. What matters is that Milan lose. You guys are missing the point here.
Nico is worried about the battle. Jay's worried about the war.
Exactly.
All right, Miko, one more time.
Forza Inter. See you.